So we'll be covering about features of construction contract, types of construction contract, different approaches in respect of construction contracts, some basics of construction contracts, and we'll summarize at the end. Um, Before knowing construction contracts, we should be knowing why do we need a contract. We need a contract because it is always considered a good measure that parties which enter any project with significant financial transaction to have a written contract. It ensures safety, gives assurance, and avoids any disputes in the future. For example, when we consider any construction project, it involves various parties like the owner, contractors, suppliers, etc. Each one of them will have their defined roles. It will be risky for every party involved if the individual parties carry in the absence of any clear outline of the roles, responsibilities, and their contractual rights. As it is clear that the performance of every party is important and is going to affect the performance of the project as a whole, it is important to have a contract that clearly defines the roles, responsibilities, and expectations of each party. Now, what is a construction contract? A construction contract is basically an agreement which can be defined as a mutual and or a legally binding agreement between parties involved based on the policies and the conditions, which is recorded in a documented form. This contract, as already mentioned, outlines the scope of work, risks, duties, and legal rights of both the contractor and the owner. So now Bhunesh will continue.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bhuvaneshwari, roll number 36. Now I'm going to discuss about features of a construction contract. Practical completion. Practical completion occurs when the contractor returns possessions of the site to the owner, usually at the time when the work has been completed and accepted by the client. A certificate of practical completion usually confirms this acceptance. Now, the retention. Retention is nothing but sum of money withheld by the owner under the contract to act as a security against incomplete or defective works. Sectional completion. It refers to a provision within a construction contract which allows different completion dates for different sections of the works. Snagging. Snagging refers to a process where the owner or the owner's agent checks for any defects which the contractors needs to put right before the final payment is made. Next slide, please. Now, uh, conditions of construction contract. Conditions of construction contract are terms that rule the relationship between the owner and the contractor and define each party's rights and obligations. Also specify the method of payment and determine actions required when existing any disputes between the owner and the contractor. There are two types of conditions: general conditions of contract and specific conditions of contract. There are general conditions of contract. They are standard terms that suit the majority of the projects. They include definition of the project, contract components, rights and responsibilities for the owner and the contractor, project schedule and payment method, and warranty and delay penalty. Specific conditions of contract. They are the modifications required to suit the uniqueness of the project and make the contract flexible for the nature of the project and achieve the project objectives. Yeah, next slide, please. Selection of a type of construction contracts. One of the characteristics of the construction projects is uniqueness. The owner develops the process of selecting the type of contract. Factors affecting the selection of construction contract. First one, project objectives. The type of contract should meet with the project objectives. Project constraints. There isn't any construction project without constraints. Thus, project constraints should be considered while selecting the type of construction contracts. Project delivery method. It determines the relationships between parties getting involved in the project and how they interact with each other from project initiation to project closure. Now, Divyanshu Rana will continue with the types of construction contracts.
Good morning, everyone. This is Divyanshu Rana, roll number 32. Now I am talking about the types of construction contract. The main type of construction contract, first one, lump sum contract. It is also known as fixed price contracts, are the most basic type of the construction contract. That's because they outline or one fixed price for all the work done under them. For this reason, lump sum contracts are extremely common in construction, or the most contractors have entered into the multiple lump sum contract in the past. Second one, time and material contracts. as opposed to lump sum contracts, time and material contracts, work based of the project in which the scope of work is not well defined. Time and material contracts reimburse contractors for the cost of material and establish an hourly and daily pay rate. Third one, cost plus contract. Cost plus contract, otherwise known as cost reimbursement contracts, involve the owner paying the contractors for the cost incurred during the project plus a set amount of the money for profit, which can be determined by a percentage of the total price of the project. Fourth one, unit price contracts. Unit price contracts divide the total works required to the complete a project into separate units. They are also known as measurement contracts, measurement and pay contracts, or remeasurement contracts. The contractor provided the owner with the price estimate for the each unit of work rather than an estimate the project as a whole. Fourth one, fifth one, the GMP contracts. Granted maximum contract establish the cap on the contract price. With this type of construction contract, the property owner won't be exceed the contract price, and any material level cost above that price should be covered by the contractor. And many more types of contracts with like next slide, commercial contracts, domestic building contracts, percentage rate contract, item rate contract, cost plus percentage cost contract, subcontract, or a special contract, etc. Now Birendra will continue.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Virendra. My roll number is 34. So today I am going to discuss different approaches in respect of construction contract. So usually it is the owner who decides upon the project build and obtains the requisite designs either in-house or by utilizing the services of the third-party designer who adhering to the specifications so provided by the owner will design the project. So after this step, the design so produced by the designer shall serve as a supervisory reference for the contractor who is actually tasked to execute the construction of the project. So here are some of the approaches that are primarily adopted by the parties to the construction contract. Next slide. The first of these approaches is that of a general contract method, which basically comprises of a contract wherein there are two main parties, namely the owner and the general contractor, with the owner having separate contractual arrangement with the designer and the contractor respectively. Additionally, the work, when of a specialized nature, may necessitate the employment of subcontractors by the contractor to complete such specialized parts of the construction. The main three stages of this approach are design plan process, the estimation process, and eventually building stage of the project. Basically, this contracting method is usually preferred for small scale construction projects where the owner is given a clear cut representation of the final cost price of the project before the construction is underway of the project. Now, the second approach that shall be examined is that of separate contracts method, wherein the owner essentially prefers the role of general contractor and he enters into separate contracts with each of subcontracts to ensure the specialized portions of the work to be done in respect of construction project are accordingly completed. This approach is mostly preferred choice if the owner is equipped with the essential skills or has within the reach the management capabilities to handle the construction project. While such method is more profitable to the owner in that he does not have to part with the portion of profits that would originally been paid to the general contractor. So in this method, the owner opens himself to great liability as compared to the first method. The third, the third approach is that of a self-performance method, which entails that part of work in respect of construction to be done is completed by the owner himself or through his employees, with the farmer providing the necessary inputs for the completion of such work and acting in a supervisory role. When such is adopted, it is often common for the design to also be completed in its near entirety in-house, making the role that is to be performed by the designer. The main advantages in respect of this method is that of the cost saved due to lack of necessity of a formal contract and other ancillary expenses usually incurred while executing and inspecting the final construction. This approach, however, has a limited scope in its usefulness, in that it is only preferable in respect of small scale, mostly uncomplicated construction. Next slide. Now, the fourth approach is that of design build approach. In this method, there is single contract that covers both the design and the building phase of the project. So such approach is mostly preferred in respect of large scale projects, and the contract is often drafted in a manner that allows the disputes between the designer and the builder to be solved without the direct involvement of the owner. While advantageous in several ways, the lack of checks and balance built into the durability of the roles of the parties sometimes serve as a cause of concern for cautious owners who may refrain from such a contractual approach. So the last one of these approaches is that of a professional construction management approach, wherein a firm involved in such construction management service is hired to perform the identical function done by the contractor in a general contract method. Basically, this firm may even be tasked with advising the owner about the design form that is to be chosen to design the final construction project. The firm will oversee the design process to ensure that the result of the same is cost effective before the commencement of the building phase. Now, this firm may be compensated in either a flat manner or a value dependent manner, and the designer is usually compensated in terms of latter. So this approach is preferable in respect of large scale projects, wherein the flexibility is often required along considerable combined expertise in the construction aspects of the design. So these are some of the basic approaches towards the construction contract. Now Mohil will continue the presentation. Thank you.
Hello, I am Ilamuhil, roll number 33. My topic is basic of construction contract. Creating a good contract is a skill that every builder should know in and out. Whether he is a solo owner builder or a head of the large construction firm. Although various contractors use different checklists when creating a contract, there are commonalities that should be followed. There are 7 major basics to consider when developing a skill creating useful contract. These are the 7 basics. First one is a construction contract document. Construction contract is a combination of individual document detailing different aspects of the project, or it can be a complex multi-page document with many sections that of a detail of different projects of the agreement. Having a solid contract represents the first step towards the success of the project. Next topic is contract types. Different types of contract are used within the building industry. Contract types are usually defined by the manner in which the distribution is going on. By the may also specify other terms such as duration, quality, specification, and other issues similar importance. Next is successful contract negotiation. When the time comes to come for a builder to sit down with a union representative or project stockholders, he or she need to be prepared. Good contract, good negotiator should have a characteristic and a skill that allow for the right deal to be struck one that achieves that goal while leaving both parties satisfied. And next topic is direct hire or subcontract. Builders have 2 options for completing work on the project. One is directly hire their own employees or hire subcontract that work for an individual contract. We will make decision based on what most cost effective and timely. And next one is construction contract agreement. The contract agreement is the principal document that set a date and specify which parties are going to participate in the construction process. Usually, the contract agreement is executed between the owners owners of the project and contractors. Preparation contract and legal contract argument is also one of the main step in contract. And next is deferring site condition. Deferring site condition can increase cost of the construction and can delay breaking ground on the project. Contractor developing contract need to know how to handle this possibility and include language that protect against unforeseen circumstances. Next is construction contracting escalation process. Escalation clauses are often written into a construction contract. They are more typically included on large construction projects where the job may require more than 1 year to complete, and carry substantial financial backing and risk. If executed properly, escalation clauses protect the contractor from unpredicted charges. These are the sound basics of construction contract. Next slide. So we have seen a brief about why we need a construction contract and what is construction contract, some features and conditions related to construction contract, the main type of construction contract, and some basics related to it, and different approaches in respect of construction contract. Hope we presented good, and thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
And members, that was a good presentation. Okay, so is the next team ready? Team 7, you have given the total details for contract for constructions, so it is sufficient, and I don't find any other remarks to suggest you. It was a good presentation. Shall we move to team 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Team 8 members can start your screen share. Who are the team members? Just tell out their roll numbers or the names, anything.
From roll number 37 to 41.
37, 38, 39, 40, 41. Is that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. Okay, over to you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
I'll just wait for the full screen.
Ma'am, just a second.
Good morning to one and all. My name is Harish Kumar, roll number 41. We, Group 8, are here to present a seminar on drafting of contract documents, which is based on MORTH. MORTH, that is Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Next slide, please. Contract documents. Construction contract documents are the written documents that define the roles, responsibilities, and work under the construction contract and are legally binding on the parties, in this case, the owner and the contractor. Construction contract documents define the basis of contract, including both parties and roles and responsibilities. The contract document consists of contract agreement on non-judicial stamp paper of prescribed value. Now, this simply means that construction contract documents define the basis of contract, including both parties' roles, responsibilities, and the detailed description of the work or service. Like drawings will be drawings, specifications, procedure, and any other conditions will be included here. In other words, contract documents include sufficient information that is required to complete the work or the service. Now, the major use of the contract documents is a written contract gives a good protection on the parties involved. When the agreed terms or conditions are not followed, or in case if they are breached, this can be useful. When a party in an agreement breaks the contract, the written agreement will be used as a reference on what the parties have agreed and determine whose fault it really is. Next slide, please. Drafting of contract documents. A legally valid agreement or a contract shall contain certain essential elements, including a permeable background or an operative clause, along with various boilerplate clauses and many other specifications in a chronological order. This act of writing and producing a technical document with all the terms and conditions of an agreement is called drafting of contract documents. This means drafting out contracts is a step-by-step inclusion of specific clauses, terms and conditions that are expressed as per the needs and wants of the parties to the contract. While making a draft, one must consider various issues and keep everything in mind. Next slide, please. Elements of a contract document. Now, as we discussed earlier, a legally valid and well-drafted contract document must contain some certain elements in a specific order. These are some of the important things which must be included in the document's while drafting. Cover title page. It contains the name of the work, name of the owner, name of the contract, contract agreement number, etc. Contents page. It's just the index page with page numbers. Agreement. Agreement is the most fundamental document in a construction contract. We'll see that in detail later. Definitions and interpretation. It is used as a legend or a key. It contains the meanings of the terms used in the documents. Tender notice and tender form. It comprises bills of quantities, contractor rates, and total cost of work, plus time required for completion and security deposit and penalty clauses, etc. Schedule of issue of material. It contains a list of materials to be issued by the owner and given to the contractor with rates and place of issue. Scope of work. Scope of work is also known as work statement. Drawings. Now, this drawing section comprises of a complete set of fully dimensioned drawings, including plans, elevations, and sections. Specifications. There are two types of specifications, general and detailed. Conditions of contract. There are two types in this as well, general and special conditions. Now, my friend Sayudeep will explain you these elements in detail. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. As Haris gave a brief explanation about the elements of the contract, we will go into deep one by one. Okay, next slide. As explained, a legally valid and well-drafted contract document should essentially have some elements to be included. Before diving into the topic, I would like to remind that all our study and the examples from here on is only based on the contract documents issued by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, that is MoRTH. Okay, from here on, we will describe you some examples. All those examples are based on the contract documents by MoRTH. Okay, we will also provide the link to these documents in the last slide in the references. So coming into the topic, firstly, in a contract document, there should be a title cover page at the beginning. Here you can see the example. This is the title cover page of a contract document for the construction of the roads. Actually, cover title page contains the name of the work, name of the owner, name of the contract, contract agreement number, and the contents. Actually, the function of this cover title page is that it allows the readers to identify the work at a glance. When they see the cover page, they will get an idea what the work was and who was dealing this work and other all. In the next slide. And coming to the contents page, it contains the contents of the agreement with page references. This table of contents actually serves two purposes. Firstly, it gives users an overview of the document contents and organization, how these whole contract documents are arranged and where they have to search for a specific thing or a matter. It allows the readers, secondly, it allows the readers to directly go to a specific section of an online document. They can go to any section of the document whenever they need it. Here you can see an example of the contents page of a contract document. Actually, it was not clear here, but you can go through the link we are provided. They are the contents which will define all the elements that are in the document. Okay, next. And coming to agreement, agreement is a few page signed document that summarizes the elements of the contract. Actually, the agreement is the most fundamental document in the contract bundle. This agreement contains the elements of the contract, namely scope, price, baseline schedule, specifying the renovations and alterations, and the other works is done. Here we are providing 2 pages of agreement. Actually, agreement is mostly around 2 to 5 pages. In this agreement, it was about 2 pages. You can go through that. And next. And coming to definitions and interpretations, these definitions and interpretations contains the elaborated meanings of the terms used in the documents. These defined terms and definitions must be used to make the interpretation of the contract easier. They make the contract provisions concise, whereas use of defined terms at all times reduce any risk of ambiguity. Actually, these contract documents are generally drafted by a legal authority, but when it comes to a site, the contractor needs to understand all these. So using these definitions and interpretations, he can get what the other party is trying to convey and what work he has to be done. Here you can see the example. It is where you can identify how terms are explained. Okay, it was something like a glossary to a poem, which we are actually studying in the schools. It was something which the contractor needs to be understand so that he can easily go through all the documents. And next. And coming to next, notice inviting tender. It is in short form can called as NIT. It contains a brief description of the work, estimated cost of the work, date and time of receiving the tender, amount of the earnest money, security money, and time of completion. Like this notices, you can observe in everyday newspaper, they can provide some notices for the tenders. They are actually inviting the contractors for to take up the tender. And next, and tender form, it comprises bills of quantities, contractors rates, total cost of the work, time of completion, and security money to be deposited, and the penalty causes. And coming to the schedule of the materials, the contractor must know when the materials are coming and how much and in what quantity they are coming. So these schedule of issue of materials contains the list of materials to be issued by the department or the owner to the contractor with the rates and place of issue. The contractor must have a clear and specific idea about this so that the work can be done without any interruption. And next. And coming to the scope of the work, the scope of the work is also called as statement of the work. It is a written agreement that describes the work to be performed. The scope of the work might be the most fundamental piece of the construction contract. It should clearly communicate the expectations of the contractor. The contractor has to do some responsibilities in the work. This scope of the work gives him a clear idea what he has to do and what he has to be make done by the others. This scope of work will outline who is responsible for completing which task and the project schedule and any other necessary details for the contractors and the subcontractors. It establishes a baseline of rights and obligations one has to do in completing the project. And next. And coming to drawings, for some buildings and some other, the contractor must also know the plan and other, so that these drawings are included in contract documents. These comprises a fully set of dimension drawings, including plans, elevations, sections, detail, and site plans. This section includes the drawing related to the contract which are needed for the other party to understand and to proceed for the construction. And from here on, my friend Harigovind will continue.
Thanks, Sai. Good morning to all. This is Harigovind. Let's see about specifications now. Next slide. It is not practicable to include detailed information of each item of work in the limited space of description in the bill of quantity. Following specifications are normally included in the contract document, general and detailed specifications. Next slide. General specifications. These specify the class and type of work, quality of materials, etc. in the general for the work as a whole. Detailed specification. These give detailed description of each item of work, including material and method to be used along with the quality of workmanship required. Next slide. Contract conditions. Contract conditions set out the principal legal relationship between the parties to a construction project, determining the allocation of risk and consequently price. The contract conditions are mainly of two types, which need to be specified in the documents: general and special conditions. Next slide. General conditions. The general conditions are usually a part of specifications. They state conditions applicable to all the contracts awarded, roles and work of parties, time, price and payments, changes, suspension, and termination are some of the topics under general conditions. Special conditions. The special conditions are a part of specifications and they set forth specific conditions applicable to the particular contract or group of contracts to be awarded. Next slide. The terms and conditions of a contract specify the following: rates of each item of work, inclusive of materials, labors, transport, plant, and other arrangements required for completion of work. Manner of payment of contractor, including running payment, final payment, refund of security money, etc. Time of completion of work, proportionate progress to be achieved, penalties for poor quality and unsatisfactory work, lack of proportionate progress, and for delay in completion, extension of time for completion of work, engaging other agency at contractor's cost and risk, termination of contract, subletting of work, changes in design, drawing, etc., and valuation of variations. Now, Gokul will continue.
Hello guys, I'm here to explain about principles of good drafting. The following aspects should be considered while drafting a contract. The document should be precise with simple words. Remove ambiguity. The language and words used while drafting must be simple and appropriate to the situation. A logical arrangement should be maintained. Eliminate inadequacy and repetition. Establish a single principle of division and use the principle to divide the subject matter into significant topics and arrange the items with the topic in a logical sequence. There should be consistent usage of words. Repetition of words should be avoided so that the final product is concise. Compliance with the legal requirements. There should be a clear conception of what the intention of the parties are and examine how the same can be carried out in the light of the applicable laws. Next slide, please. The document should be concise and brief. Try to express ideas in fewer words. Use familiar words instead of far-fetched words. Direct expression in documents. There should be nothing implicit. Active voice is preferred over passive voice. Simple sentences are preferred over complex ones. Next slide, please. Yeah, miscellaneous. Divide it into paragraphs. And the first word of the important part of the deed in capitals. Use small sentences in simple languages. Avoid negatives in successive phrases. Include headings and subheadings. And there shouldn't be any spelling, grammatical, or typing mistakes. Next slide. Next slide. Need of contract documents and its drafting. Drafting a good and effective contract document which contains the comprises of the following aspects is very important. The terms and conditions of the agreement, the right of both parties, the amount to be paid, the date of commencement of work, and the expected date of completion. Why is it important? It protects the right of both owners and the contractors. It makes sure that the owner's plan and conditions are laid out clearly. It is a solution for many issues which arises in the construction project between the parties. Next slide. Some of the common issues. Delays in construction work, miscommunication, poor quality of work, bad contracts and poorly drafted plan, payment issues, builders performing variations without the owner's approval. And next, Shruti will continue with Marth.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shruti. My roll number is 39. Earlier, we saw the elements and principles of contract drafting. The contract documents drafted by Marth gives us a clear picture of how these systems actually work. So now I'll explain about Marth and its functions. The Ministry of Road Transport and Highways is the apex body for formulation and administration of the rules, regulations, and laws relating to road transport, transport research, and also to increase the mobility and efficiency of the road transport system in India. The development of this sector is of great importance for India as road transport is a critical infrastructure for economic development of the country. It influences the pace, structure, and pattern of development. The Ministry of Road Transport Highways, MoRTH, is structurally divided into the road wing and the transport wing. The road wing deals with the The road wing deals with the development and maintenance of national highways in the country, such as formulating contract documents for construction activities. The transport wing deals with matter relating to the road transport, such as taxation and insurance of motor vehicles. Apart from these, there is a planning and monitoring zone for maintaining the records of expenditure and reviewing the progress of ongoing NH works by various executing agencies. The main responsibilities of road wing is that planning, development, and maintenance of national highways. It extends technical and financial support to the state government for development of state roads, with dealing the matters related to road safety, setting standards for building and maintenance of roads and bridges, sanctioning of works related to construction, maintenance, and operation of national highways, sanctioning the estimates for various centrally sponsored schemes, including the CRF, that is Central Road Fund, or the roads of interstate connectivity. The main responsibilities of the transport wing are motor vehicle legislation, taxation of motor vehicles, compulsory insurance for vehicles, promotion of transport cooperatives in the field of motor transport, setting national road safety standards, compiling data on road accidents, and evolving a road safety culture among the people in the country. For further information on MoRTH, you can refer the following links for your reference. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Shruti and team. That was a good presentation. Do you have any doubts, students, related to MoRTH? Any doubts? So if you have any doubts in the seminar, you are welcome to ask then and there, and later I'll tell the students not to help you. And Shruti and team, I have one small remark in your presentation. When you were presenting the slide elements of contract documents, you have listed all the set of boxes, that is a list of the elements present in the contract documents. There the font style is like it is not that clear for all of them to read it. So whenever you're doing next presentation, make sure your font size, so you can go for any other different type of font, but make sure the letters are clear to understand. That is
Ma'am,
only.
it was actually visible, madam, but while presenting, it got corrupted, madam. When I will upload the original document, madam. It was visible and neat also.
Yeah, okay. Then it's okay. Then it's okay. Then it's not an issue. So that alone you have to take care. Then it's fine. No problem. Otherwise, it was a very good presentation. So students, you have any doubts on team 7 and team 8? Do you have any doubt regarding their presentations? No, students will not have any doubts. No, anyway, I'm going to correct your end semester papers. I'll see like what you understood and what you didn't understand. Okay. So, Maitri, can you just download the attendance sheet and just drop me a mail? Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, students. And tomorrow we have the next two batches, that is team 9 and 10. Yes, tomorrow 4th, that is 12:30 hour.